My name is Lauren Whitaker. I'm 29 years old, and on the morning of my wedding, my mother gave my wedding dress to my cousin. At the time, I thought it was some kind of mistake, the kind of thing that happens when people are stressed and not thinking clearly. But what I found out later made me realize it wasn't a misunderstanding at all. It was something she had already decided long before that morning ever came. Before I tell you what really happened, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story earns it. And if you feel like sharing, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I always read every comment. Now, let me take you back to that morning, because everything that happened after only makes sense if you understand what that day was supposed to be. It was the last Saturday in May, warm, already before 9 in the morning. The kind of early summer day where the air feels soft and full, like it's holding on to something good. My wedding was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon at a small vineyard just outside of Charlottesville, a quiet place with rows of green vines stretching out behind a white wooden arch. It wasn't a big wedding. I never wanted one. Just a few friends, some family, and a simple ceremony that felt real. I had spent almost a year planning it. Not because I wanted perfection, but because I wanted it to feel like mine. I worked extra shifts at the dental office where I'd been working since I was 22, picked up Saturdays when I could, and said no to a lot of things I wanted so I could afford the details that mattered to me. The dress was the biggest one. It wasn't designer. It didn't come from one of those expensive boutiques where everything feels out of reach the moment you walk in. But it was mine. I found it in a small shop about 40 minutes away, tucked between a dry cleaner and a bookstore. The woman who owned the place helped me try on 3 different dresses before I stepped into the one that made me stop talking. It was simple, white satin with lace along the sleeves, nothing dramatic, but when I looked in the mirror I felt something settle inside me. Like I finally saw myself the way I had always wanted to be seen. I paid for it myself. Every dollar. The dress was hanging in my childhood bedroom the morning I woke up, right where I had left it the night before. I remember checking it before I went to sleep, smoothing the fabric with my hands, making sure the zipper was fully closed, like it might somehow disappear overnight if I didn't. It sounds ridiculous now, but I think part of me didn't trust that something this important could just exist without something going wrong. I woke up around 7, earlier than I needed to, because I couldn't stay asleep. Not from anxiety exactly, but from that restless excitement that sits just under your skin. For a few minutes I stayed in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet of the house, trying to let the moment feel real. Downstairs I could hear my mother moving around in the kitchen, the sound of cabinets opening, a mug being set on the counter, the low hum of the coffee maker. Normal sounds. Familiar sounds. The kind that should have made me feel calm. Instead, they made me hesitate. My relationship with my mother had always been complicated in a way that's hard to explain to people who didn't grow up inside it. From the outside, she was the kind of woman everyone liked. Organized, confident, always ready with a comment that sounded helpful even when it wasn't. But at home, things were different. Subtle, most of the time. Little remarks, small corrections, the kind of things that don't sound like much on their own, but add up over years until you start to question yourself. She had a way of making it clear that there was always a better version of me somewhere, and that I just hadn't quite reached it yet. When I walked into the kitchen, she was standing by the counter in a light blue blouse, her hair already done, makeup neat and understated like she was the one attending an event, not helping her daughter get ready for one. She turned when she heard me and smiled. "You're up early," she said, sliding a cup of coffee across the counter toward me. "I couldn't sleep," I replied, wrapping my hands around the mug. She nodded like that was exactly what she expected. "Big day." There was something in the way she said it. Not excitement, not warmth, just acknowledgement. "Are you nervous?" she asked. "A little," I said. "You'll be fine," she replied, taking a sip of her coffee. "Just don't overthink everything like you usually do." She smiled when she said it, but it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a reminder. My cousin Ashley arrived a little after 9, letting herself in through the front door without knocking like she always had. Ashley had been part of my life for as long as I could remember, but we were never really close. Not in the way cousins sometimes are. She was 3 years younger than me, but she moved through the world like everything came easier to her. People noticed her. That was the simplest way to explain it. She walked into the kitchen like she belonged there, hugging me quickly before stepping back to look at me with a bright smile. "I can't believe it's finally happening," she said. "Yeah," I replied, smiling back, though something about the moment felt off in a way I couldn't quite place. My mother was watching us from the counter, quiet in a way that didn't match the morning. Then she looked at Ashley and said, "Did you bring it?" Ashley nodded. "Yeah, it's in the car." I frowned slightly, glancing between them. "Bring what?" My mother didn't look at me when she answered, "Just something we might need later." It was a small moment, easy to ignore, but something about it stayed with me. By 10, the house was full. The hairstylist had set up in the living room, curling irons heating on the coffee table, the faint smell of hairspray already hanging in the air. My friend Jenna arrived with a small bag of makeup, talking too fast, the way she always did when she was excited. Music played softly from someone's phone, and for a while, everything felt like it was supposed to. I let myself relax into it, just enough to forget the strange feeling from earlier. Around 10:30, I went upstairs to get my dress. I remember the hallway clearly, the way the sunlight came through the window at the end, lighting up the worn carpet that hadn't been replaced in years. My room looked the same as it always had, a mix of things I'd never taken with me when I moved out, and the few things I'd brought back for the wedding. The dress should have been the first thing I saw. It wasn't. At first I thought I was looking in the wrong place. I stepped closer to the closet, pushed the door open wider, and looked again. The hanger was still there. Empty. For a moment I just stood there waiting for it to make sense. Then I checked the bed, the chair in the corner, the garment bag I had folded neatly the night before. Nothing. I didn't panic right away. I think part of me still believed there was a simple explanation, that someone had moved it without telling me, that it would show up the second I asked. So I went back downstairs. "Mom," I said, my voice quieter than I expected it to be. "Where's my dress?" She didn't answer immediately. She was standing by the counter again, stirring her coffee slowly like she hadn't heard me. Then, without looking up, she said, "Ashley has it." For a second I thought I had misunderstood her. "What do you mean she has it?" My mother finally turned to face me, completely calm. "She needed it more than you do." And that was the moment everything shifted, even if I didn't fully understand it yet. For a few seconds after my mother said that, the room didn't feel real. The voices, the music, the movement around me, all of it seemed to fade into the background, like I had stepped out of the moment while everyone else kept going. I looked at Ashley, expecting her to correct it, to laugh, to say this was some kind of misunderstanding. She didn't. She just stood there, her hands loosely clasped in front of her, avoiding my eyes in a way that told me everything I needed to know before she said a word. "It's just for a few hours," she said finally, her voice softer than usual. "I'll bring it back before the ceremony." I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "You're wearing my wedding dress today?" My mother stepped in before Ashley could answer again, her tone calm but firm, like she was explaining something obvious to a child. "Ashley has a bridal campaign shoot this morning. A real opportunity, Lauren, something that could actually go somewhere." The words settled slowly, each one heavier than the last. "A photo shoot," I repeated. "It's more than that," my mother said. "It's exposure. It's connections. These things matter." "And my wedding doesn't?" I asked. She sighed, like I was making this harder than it needed to be. "Your wedding will still happen. This is just a dress." That was when I felt something inside me go quiet. Not explode, not break, just still. Because it wasn't about the dress. It never had been. "I paid for it," I said, more to myself than to her. "With what?" She replied immediately. "That job of yours? You would have struggled to afford anything better without help." I looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time that morning, I saw clearly. This wasn't something she had decided in the moment. This wasn't stress or confusion or poor judgment. This was a choice. Ashley needs this, she continued. You'll have your day either way. Ashley finally looked at me again, and there was something in her expression. Guilt, maybe. But it wasn't enough to stop her. I didn't think it would be a big deal, she said. I mean, it's just for a few hours. The room felt smaller somehow, like the walls had moved in without anyone noticing. My friend Jenna stood near the doorway, completely silent. The hairstylist pretended to focus on her tools. No one said anything. No one disagreed. That silence was louder than anything else. Give it back, I said. My voice didn't shake this time. No, my mother said. Just like that. No hesitation, no explanation. It's already on its way, she added. I stood there for another second, maybe two, waiting for something to change, for someone to step in. For Ashley to speak up, for my mother to reconsider. Nothing happened. So I turned, walked past all of them, and stepped outside. The air felt different out there, warmer, heavier, like the day had moved on without me. I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do next. My wedding was in less than 4 hours. And I didn't even have a dress. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message from a number I didn't recognize. If you want to know why your mom gave your dress away, you need to see this. There was a link underneath. For a moment I hesitated, then I tapped it. It opened to a bridal campaign page. A preview. Ashley was there, wearing my dress. But that wasn't what made my chest tighten. Below the image was a caption, Featured Bride Ashley Whitaker, styled by Caroline Whitaker. Styled by my mother. I stared at the screen, reading it again, slower this time, like maybe I had misunderstood it. But I hadn't. This wasn't last minute. This wasn't something Ashley had been offered that morning. This had been arranged. My mother had given my dress away because she was part of it, because she had chosen to be. I felt something shift then, the same way a lock turns when it finally clicks into place. All the small moments from that morning, the quiet look between them, the question about the bag, the way she had already been ready, suddenly made sense. I wasn't supposed to wear that dress, not today. I sat there for a long time, the phone still in my hand, the image frozen on the screen. Then I did something I hadn't expected to do. I didn't cry. I started thinking. If my mother had planned this, then she had assumed I would go along with it, that I would adjust, compromise, find something else, and still show up smiling like nothing had happened. Like I always had, but something about that morning had changed that. I opened my contacts and scrolled to one name. Daniel. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, everything okay? I was just about to head to the venue. I took a breath. I need you to trust me for a minute. A pause. Okay. I don't have my dress, I said. And I'm not wearing anything else. Another pause, longer this time. Lauren, what happened? I'll explain later, but I need you to do something. Tell me. Push the ceremony back by an hour. That's possible, he said slowly. Why? Because I'm not canceling, I said. And for the first time that day I felt something steady inside me. I'm just not doing it the way she planned. There was a quiet exhale on the other end of the line. Okay, he said. Whatever you need. I hung up, started the car, and drove. There was a small boutique about 20 minutes away, one I had passed a dozen times but never gone into. It wasn't a bridal shop. Just a place that sold simple dresses, white, neutral, understated. I walked in with 30 minutes to spare and told the woman at the counter exactly what I needed. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded and started pulling options. I chose the simplest one. Soft fabric, no train, no lace, nothing that would draw attention. And for the first time all day, that felt right. When I arrived at the venue, people were already there, sitting, talking, waiting. My mother stood near the front, her expression shifting the second she saw me. Where have you been? She asked sharply. You're late. I looked at her, calm in a way I hadn't been before. I know. Her eyes moved over the dress I was wearing. This isn't. No, I said. It's not. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. What are you doing? I'm getting married, I replied. The ceremony started 10 minutes later. It wasn't what I had planned. It wasn't what I had imagined. But standing there, looking at Daniel, hearing him say my name like it actually meant something, I realized something that surprised me. The dress had never been the most important part. Respect was. And I wasn't going to keep asking for it from someone who had already decided not to give it. After the ceremony, Ashley arrived, still in my dress. She stopped when she saw me, her expression shifting as she took in the scene, the guests, the finished ceremony, the fact that she had missed it. I came as fast as I could, she said. I looked at her for a moment. Then at the dress. You can keep it, I said. She blinked. What? I don't need it anymore. My mother stepped in then, her voice tight. Lauren, don't be dramatic. I turned to her. I'm not, I said quietly. I'm just done. That was the last full conversation we had that day. In the weeks that followed, things shifted in ways I hadn't expected. The photos from Ashley's campaign went live. My mother was tagged in every post, credited for styling, praised in comments by people who had no idea what it had cost. But the people who mattered knew. Jenna told them. Others saw. And the story didn't look the same when it was told out loud. My mother tried to call me a few times after that. I didn't answer. Not right away. When I finally did weeks later, she said, "You overreacted." And that told me everything I needed to know, because she still didn't see it. So I stopped trying to explain. Some things don't change because you argue better. They change because you stop accepting them. I still have photos from that day. Not the ones I imagined, but the ones that matter. A simple dress, a quiet ceremony, and a moment where I chose myself for the first time in my life. If you've ever had someone in your life make you feel like what matters to you isn't important, I understand that feeling. It's not about the dress, or the event, or the moment. It's about being seen, being expected, being treated like you matter. And if you're still waiting for someone to give you that, sometimes the hardest truth is this. You might have to give it to yourself first. That's my story. Thanks for staying until the end. If it meant something to you, like and subscribe. And if you've ever had a moment where you finally chose yourself, share it in the comments. I read every one. There's another story waiting for you below. I think you'll like that one too.